I was in the gallery when they did it. Third tier, center row, behind the smoked partition that the commission uses to separate observers from delegates. I had a clear line of sight to the floor below. The long rectangular table, the 17 commission chairs, the human delegation seated at the far end. And I watched the session clerk enter the amendment into the official record without so much as a pause between agenda items. Item 7, the revision of the Terran Capability Index. Passed by voice vote, 14-3. The clerk's stylus moved. The record changed. And just like that, what humanity was capable of, officially, on paper, in the binding archive that every signatory species consults before making decisions, became smaller. My name is Callum Reese. At the time, I held the title of Senior Assessment Liaison, which is a phrase that means nothing to anyone outside a certain division of Earth's diplomatic security service. What it meant in practice was that I sat in galleries like that one and I counted things. I counted the votes, the hesitations, the small silences between a question and its answer. I counted who looked at the floor when a figure was read aloud, and who did not blink at all. That day I counted something I had not expected to count. I counted what the commission did not know they were doing. The amendment had been in preparation for some months. Commissioner Verath of the Dural Compact had drafted it, citing what she called a structural overstatement in the original index. Figures entered during the first integration period, when humanity's assessment teams had been, in her words, aspirationally optimistic about projected fleet expansion and resource processing capacity. The other signatories had agreed. Not because the evidence was strong. The evidence was thin enough that you could read a news summary through it. They agreed because agreeing was easier than the alternative, which was asking why the figures had been entered the way they had, and who had done the entering, and what they had known at the time. Our lead delegate was a woman named Petra Solano. She had served 3 commission terms. She was 58 years old, and she had a way of sitting in a chair as though she had chosen to be there. Sounds like a small thing, but is not. Most delegates, when a vote goes against them, make some adjustment. A shift in posture, tightening around the eyes, a hand that finds something to hold. Petra Solano made no adjustment at all. When the voice vote closed, she reached into the folio in front of her and removed a document. She placed it flat on the table and pushed it 2 centimeters toward the center. Then she folded her hands on top of the folio and was still. The session clerk looked at the document. Commissioner Verath looked at it. 3 of the other commissioners leaned forward, and one of them, Merritt, the Pelosi Combine delegate, thin figure with very good hearing, appeared to read something from where he sat. No one asked what it was. Petra Solano did not explain it. She did not stand. She did not speak. The session ran another 40 minutes. Item 8, Item 9, the standard close. When the chair declared the session ended, the human delegation stood and left the floor in the same order they had entered it. The document remained on the table. I came down from the gallery during the recess, and I stood close enough to read it. It was a single page. It contained no argument, no protest, no language of grievance at all. It was a table of figures, 2 columns. The left column carried the entries as they now appeared in the amended archive. The Commission's new, reduced assessment. The right column carried a different set of figures with a date header that was not old. The date was recent. The figures in the right column were not aspirational. They were current. They were considerably larger than anything the original index had ever claimed. For a moment in the empty chamber with that page in front of me, and I understood what Petra Solano had done. She had not protested the amendment. She had not requested a delay or submitted a counterbrief or asked for the floor. She had let 14 commissioners vote to write down what humanity was worth. And then she had shown them, without a word, what they had just chosen to leave out. The commission convened an emergency closed session the following morning. I was not in the gallery for that one. No observers were admitted. I heard afterward that Commissioner Verath spoke for some time, heard that Merritt of the Pelosi Combine said almost nothing. I heard that when the chair asked whether the human delegation wished to address the session, the answer that came back through the liaison channel was a single word. No, I have been in this work for a long time. I have sat through censures and sanctions and formal declarations of insufficient standing. I have watched delegations argue their own value in front of bodies that had already decided the outcome before the session opened. I have seen capable people make the mistake of explaining themselves to rooms that were not listening. Petra Solano did not make that mistake. She placed a document on a table, and she was quiet, and she let the numbers speak to 14 commissioners who had just voted to unsee them. That was all she did. It was enough. The commission did not reverse the amendment. Reversals require a supermajority and a different kind of political will than that room contained, but they did not act on it either. Item 7 sat in the record, amended and official and completely inert, because every signatory now understood that acting on it would require pretending the right-hand column did not exist. The document itself was archived. It carries a reference number that no one cites in formal proceedings. But people know the number. In certain rooms, when someone needs to explain why a particular line of approach against Earth keeps stalling at the pre-action review, someone will read the number aloud, and the room will move on. That is what it means to hold something back, not the holding. The moment they find out you were holding, and they realize they cannot calculate by how much,